Hey guys, welcome to Two Lines. It's a Tuesday. It's been a whirlwind of a couple weeks. So I apologize for missing last week, but shout out to George for covering for me, Area 51. I really appreciate it. I hope you guys are doing well. I have not looked at the chat, but it looks like Wildman has got a fun evening headed his way. He got 2 packages today. Let's see here. Danny's on. The Fingers is on. That's what else is going on. Ragtop Pat. It's raining here too, Pat. Spent the morning in the airport. Flew back. Got back this afternoon. Went straight to work. Got some work done so that I wouldn't be behind tomorrow. There's George. Hey, George. Welcome. Who else? Ragtop Pat says he went to Harbor Freight today looking for an airbrush to paint the Legends car I got yesterday. Walked out without an airbrush and still a whole lot poorer. Yeah, Pat, Harbor Freight can do that to you. That's what I've found. It's one of those, like, oh, that tool is nice. I had somebody reach out to me this week asking about calipers, like what I recommended. And I basically told them that Harbor Freight is your friend. I don't think it's important to spend a ton of money on calipers. Just a decent pair you can get for probably under $25. Will probably work well enough for slot car work. So, let's see here. Looks like Ragtop Pat got a couple cars yesterday. I don't have any new cars. Actually, I think I've got something pre-ordered, but I don't have anything on its way. So, looking forward to the chat this Sunday. Hope we see you there, all there. Ooh, I have not been filled in. What chat are you referring to, Area 51? Are you going live on Sunday? I should be around this weekend, so hopefully no more travel for me for a little bit. I was in Las Vegas, got home, did a live stream, turned around, jumped in the car, and drove back to Denver, actually Fort Collins, Colorado. Dropped off a car to my daughter, Caroline, and sold her old car. That was just kind of in rough shape, and it needed some work, and I just didn't want to invest any more money in it. So she inherited her mom's old car. So I drove all the way out there by myself, and it was good to have 20 hours of just alone time. I listened to an audiobook. I caught up on all my podcasts that I was behind on, took full advantage of that, and didn't have a bad drive. So looks like Heat Monster is in the house. Danny is in the house. Rink Rat 99. Welcome. Make sure I don't miss anybody. I didn't really come in with a big plan. Last week, when I jumped in on Thursday, I had a plan. I knew I wanted to work on the McLaren. Guys, this car, after the live stream, I tuned it during the live stream to try to get a little more out of it. I put a 25K motor in it, the Piranha, I believe. And it is a fast car. But I had a discussion with, I'm trying to remember who it was. Was it you, Wildman, or was it Slot Car Dude? I think it was a Slot Car Dude. Make Marty work harder. But we got into a discussion about whether I thought for my layout, the stock motor is just as good as the 25K motor. And I will say that the 21.5 motor that comes from Thunderslot is a great motor. But it does not have the top end, and my straightaways are long enough that I can take advantage of that 25K. It really does make a difference. But overall, I think that I can run lap times close enough with the 22.5 motor. If I run the green Imbel 22.5 Predator, it's so close. It just that motor doesn't have as much braking, that ball bearing motor. But man, is it so smooth, and it just makes that car a dream. So I've kind of played around with the motors, and I can run almost as fast over a 50 or 100 lap race. It's pretty consistent. The times are not that far off, the overall time, because with the little milder motor, I stay in the slot just most of the time, and it just doesn't have the torque the 25K motor has. And so if I miss a brake point or I miss an acceleration point out of a turn, sometimes that 25K motor will make me pay for it if it doesn't get as much traction as I need. Hey, Shotgun Dave. Welcome. Good to have you. Let's see. What have I missed? And man, there's a lot. Let's see here. Eric Tucker, welcome. Daryl, Marty's jet lagged. He didn't get off the plane from Yeah, it jet lag will hit me tomorrow if I don't get to sleep. My problem is when I travel, I acclimate to the time changed very, very fast. If you change your eating schedule to the new time zone, you'll switch over to the time zone really fast. So Denver's 2 hours, Colorado's 2 hours behind us. I was 3 hours all last week in Vegas, and then 2 hours behind us. So my body is all messed up. So you guys keep an eye on me if I doze off during this. If I get boring, let me know, and we'll shut this live stream down and, come back another day. But it's good to be home. Happy to be home. Kind of missed running some laps on the track. Knowing how this thing was running, gosh, I really want to run some more laps just to see how consistent I get. But I'm working and trying to finish up this weekend's video, and that is the Shadow versus the NSR GT40. So that's what's on tap now. I'm trying to do some tuning to get the most out of those cars right now. And so we'll see. Probably not going to do any of that on tonight's live stream. You'd think I would learn my lesson tuning and then racing the car on the live stream. I give you guys lots of fodder, cannon fodder for me. Hey, Dusty. Yeah, you need to get over here at some point. I've got parts for you for your 917 10, so you can get it fixed and back on the track. Because it'd be a good one to throw in this Can-Am challenge, this showdown, because it would have definitely ran against these cars. So maybe we can get you over here this weekend, get some laps in, and get that car back and get you tuned up. Hey, Conquest, welcome. Hey, DK Moon, welcome. Let's see here. Hey, Jeremy, thanks for showing up, man. Appreciate it. Good to have you. Hey, Gary Dunmore. Welcome home. Thanks, man. It's good to be home. It's always good to be home. Cliff, welcome from Texas. Big Jimmy. I did not make it to Slot Car City in Vegas. My work schedule out there was so crazy, and they were only open one day from 4 to 9. And that was like the main evening for my sessions for this conference. They had a big gathering, and I could not escape to get out there. I was there for work, so I feel like slot cars would have been playing, and so I didn't get a chance to do that. Plus, like the Uber drive for 4.5 miles in Vegas was like $60. I was like, yeah, I don't know. To go walk around a slot car. I mean, I love seeing slot cars, but they have 2 big wood tracks, and I think they do a lot of like the womps. Is that what they're called? I think they do a lot of 124 scale racing there. So anyway, so I did not make it. Sorry. If I would have made it, I would have released a video because I would like to help out people if I show up to their shop. And I'm not sure how much Bruce loves it when I get my camera out and I live stream or do videos from his, or Butch from his track, but I would have done something. Hey, Gene, welcome. Hey, Steve, welcome to the live stream. Oh, Daryl. Well, Daryl, I guess when we meet up at Butch's track for the big race, the vintage race, I saw where Bernie is running Formula Ones this weekend, or he canceled this weekend and is running next weekend. And I'm not sure. One, I don't have F1 cars that qualify for his races, but I don't know if I'm going to be able to make it. I've been gone so much here lately. I really probably need to stick around the house and get some work done around here. But thank you. We'll meet up. Daryl, you just need to come over and spend the day or a couple hours here at the layout tuning cars. That'd be fun. Let's see. Scratch build slot car chat with Harry, Dave, and myself Sunday at 2 p.m. Sweet. Thanks, George. Yeah, I look forward to that, man. That's awesome. That is fantastic. Yeah, Dusty, same. Waiting on the pre-orders. There's some good stuff coming up. Hey, Greg, just got a tech slot today. I'm hooking it up now and also making a few adjustments to my track. Thanks to Joseph. Yeah, dude, Joseph is a great guy, and he's not that far from me, and we have not had an opportunity to meet up. He and some guys from his area want to come down and run on the track, and we were trying to do that in May, and it didn't happen because of my schedule. It was crazy, and so then their schedules got busy, and so maybe late this summer, maybe we can plan it around Massimo and Raul coming down. So let's see, who else do we have? 34, the Legends. So funny thing about the Legends, man, I wanted to hate those Legend cars, and my brother bought me one. And then I tuned that thing up, and that thing is so much fun to race. What we probably should do is add Carson chips to them and make them digital and just do a digital class here with Legends. That might be fun. But yeah, that's cool that you're enjoying the Legends cars. They are a lot of fun. Was playing with the new toy cars. How was the trip? So John, you're at your track, so that means you're having a good time. Great pictures of the new slot that you got. Again, the Chaparrals, that wing is so tall. I don't know that it would get under my bridge. Might have to do some adjustments. Although my Volkswagen bus gets under it, so I guess if the bus gets under it, it probably does. Hey, Paoli, welcome, man. Hope you're doing well. So, or were they just, Jeremy? I just have a question about that. I've not had any tires do that on me yet. Is it just they just break down and dry rot, or you say they turn into goo? Just they get too warm. I'm sure I'll figure it out once that happens to me. But people seem to say that the Carrera tires tend to do that sometimes. So it's hard to believe that John was playing with his slot cars. Yeah. So Jimmy, my straights. Oh gosh. So my back straight along this wall is probably 18 or 19 feet. And then the front straight over here is about 16 feet. So, and in this layout, a 24 table, Like I can get the 25K motor by the end of that straight, that long straight, it's tapped out. So you got to be able to get on the brakes. So, yeah. I learned so much about weight. Thank you, Rusty. You were spot on with weight suggestions. We won 2 heats against some of the best. Steve, congratulations, man. I guess I missed out on some chat last night about classes. That would have been a fun conversation. I'm sorry I missed that. I had no internet service when it came time. It was 5 o'clock out there when Raul and George jumped on their live stream on Monday. And I tried to jump in from my phone. I tried an open Wi-Fi network that I was close to. I couldn't get a signal until, it wouldn't even let me jump into like the live chat until towards the end. So sorry I missed that, but that would have been a fun conversation. I like to talk classes. A lot of times classes are basically just that. They are, Revo slots, and you run anything that's a Revo slot. That's what Cincy Slots does. That's what the guys that have some house races here in the area, they usually do. They'll run brands together. And then like the vintage class really is open to about anything. There are some stipulations when it comes to motors and things like that. So like my favorite class is the vintage class, because there's a lot of variety that run in that class. There are a lot of Elvas, Thunderslot Elvas that run because everybody knows they're fast. They're pretty easy to tune. But that's not usually what won the race, because you got to keep it in the slot, right? A Matra won in that vintage class a couple different weeks, a couple different Matras, Slottits. What else were fast cars? There was some NSR, the GT40s. There was the Shadow was not around yet, so we'll see if the Shadow makes it in that class, which it qualifies. So classes are fun to talk about. Yeah, Chris, thanks, man. It's good to be back home. Hey, Greg, glad you joined in tonight. I'm trying to catch up. I'm behind. I'm too busy talking. Raul, thanks, man. Dude, we need to catch up. I've got a couple things to talk about. So maybe I'll just give you a call someday, maybe later this week. If I can find some time, we can FaceTime or something. It'd be good to catch up. So, yeah, man, I saw the picture. Looks like you're making good headway, man. Track building's fun for me. I won't lie. This layout is probably not going to change for a while. We really like it. I love racing on it, but I do enjoy the process of designing and building new ones, a new layout. I've had a few people reach out to me about me designing them, and I'll just be honest, guys, like taking the time to do that with my schedule the way it is right now, with work and the live streams and content creation, I'm having problems getting to it. But I will always refer, if you're building with Carrera, Mark from Smart Race, his website, there's a resource page that has a ton of Carrera designed tracks. Totally recommend it. You can search by size of your table, width or length, and come up with some great ideas. And you might not land on one that's already designed there, but what I end up doing is like taking pieces of like, ooh, I like the way that turn is, or I like the look of that. That looks fun. And then you can see whether it's an R3 or R4 or R5, not Carrera R5, but R2, R3, R4s, and design from there. So if I've said that, hey, I'd work on your layout and I haven't sent you something, I apologize profusely. I'm struggling to keep up with some things right now. Life is really busy. My kids have been here, and then I've been out there. Jen and I, we have another trip coming soon. I'm serving on a Chrysalis flight, which is like a high school kid retreat that I play music on. And so I've had meetings on the weekends for that. So life's been busy, but I picked GT40 in golf colors as that's my favorite. Yeah, DK Moon, good choice, man. I am a sucker for golf livery. I know there are people who are golf. Daryl, he's a big golf guy, doesn't like martini. He likes to tease us about that. I like all the classics. I love golf liveries, and I like fantasy liveries too most of the time. Like that card didn't have to race with a golf livery for me to like it. It's okay. Some people get super upset about that. I'm pretty laid back about that. Hey, 3Bean, welcome. Good to have you. That's Dusty. Dusty, you have a little brother? So what else do we have? Hey, Joe, welcome, man. Glad to have you. Let's see what else. So did you find any slot shops in Colorado? It's Daryl. There are no slot car shops in Fort Collins, which is where I was at, which is about an hour north of Denver. And I spent every waking moment with my kids, just hanging out with them, having fun. We are all into pickleball. And maybe I can play more pickleball to get some weight off, man. But I love playing pickleball. I love playing tennis. My kids went through lessons when they were younger, tennis lessons, and are both really good tennis players. And so we like to, but we've transitioned to pickleball, and we had a blast. So every moment we went twice on Monday, once on Sunday. So I got to play with some of their friends. It was fun. So, but no slot car shops. Now I think there's a shop in Denver, but there are a couple tracks, and I have some subscribers on my channel. There's one subscriber that I was hoping that I would get the chance to meet up with, that lives probably a half a mile from my kids, right in Fort Collins. But I didn't get a chance to reach out. And again, I was so focused. I had a lot to do when I got there. I delivered a car for my youngest daughter, Caroline, and we sold her old car. And so working with those people to take care of that transaction, it was just busy. In Vegas, the taxi is $8 before you even get in. Yeah, Chris. And then during busy times, the Ubers are not cheap either. So my Uber drive from the airport to the Venetian was $20, and it was like $40 when I had to go back to the airport because they said it was busy times. And then when SEMA's in town, it's an $80 ride. So that's what I found out in November. So, yeah. Hey, De Leon, welcome. Just in time. Yep, you haven't missed anything. It's just me rambling. I'm 4,000 miles into my travel this week. The last 9 days. So, yeah, it's crazy. But it's not like John Mark, our buddy John Mark. That's sometimes in the live stream. He is now working his way from British Columbia to South Dakota tonight, on his way home in an RV with his family. It's probably been chaos, a big RV with all of his grandkids. So what do we want to talk about tonight? I told Bruce you may want to bring Raul and Massimo to Cincy Slots and run while they're here. Yeah, we would love to do that. Maybe we could schedule some type of race for them to just go have some fun. Because I know a lot of you don't race and have not had the racing experience that Dusty and John Mark and I got to have at Cincy Slots with those guys, that group of guys. I know it's not like that for everyone. Sometimes it's kind of a tough place to go. But it would be fun to maybe put something together, Daryl, just so everybody can meet each other and have some fun and, get to race on a great layout. That'd be fun. It'd be awesome to get him to Butch's track too, and to meet Butch because he's a fantastic guitar tuner. car tuner, slot car tuner, and just a track builder, and that track is so nice. I will bring my Legends down when I come so we can race. Yes. Raul, we'll have all kinds of cars, but I know that you'll bring some with you. But we can take care of you. But it should only have trouble getting under the bridge once. Yeah, that's right. After it knocks that big wing off the top, we'll be getting around the track a little better. Both front tires on the car turned into soft goo. Tires were fine last week. Yeah, it's crazy. I wonder what causes that. Just the rubber finally breaks down. If a bus clears your bridge, you're good to go. Okay. Yeah. That's good to know. So yeah, we should be fine. So where's my bus? Had to find my bus. Yeah, this gets under my bridge. Not by much, but it does get under my bridge. Curious, sometimes you have to program to track. Some do that and some don't. Okay. Daryl, we've seen you race. We know better. That's right. Yeah, Dusty runs the 917-10 in vintage. I run the Elva, but we are running a vintage. We got invited to run a vintage class race, an endurance race at Butch's. And so I'm probably going to run this because the Elvas are outlawed for this race. And I think it's because everybody will show up with an Elva if you don't do that. But I'm going to try to have this car tuned as a good backup and possibly this car tuned as a good backup. So that's what I'm going to work on this week. So we'll go from there. Let's see. Thanks to Fly, I started learning about higher quality tires, started with Max Track, and mainly use NSR Quick Slicks today. Chris, I'd recommend if you go silicone to try Super Tires as well. They make great tires. And I've done some research versus Quick Slicks, and they're both great tires. But I have done some research, so if you want more information about that, let me know. Yeah, Billy, I saw that you built an 8-lane digital track, or that was somebody else's track, maybe. So it was 8 lanes of digital racing, but really 2 4-lane tracks, right? Because I didn't see where there was a piece that would let you change onto the inner track. Let's see. I missed that comment. So yeah, so I saw your video. Good stuff. It's your marketing plan is cracking me up though by including pictures of fake women in your thumbnail. It's just what we need in the slot car industry. We need more women. I appreciate you and Amanda are bringing them to the hobby. DK Moon, you love track design too, more than tuning a car. Wish we had a little better available software. So DK Moon, I use the online planner. It's German, but what is it called? It's like Softy something bond planner, Softy bond planner, something like that. It does a great job. It's free. It's really easy to use. It will give you like inventory of the track that you need, breakdown. It color codes the stuff. So I think that's good. What I've not been able to find a free Polycar or Scalectric or other brands designers. I know there's some plans out there. There's some model railroad software that you can get like a plug-in for Polycar track. But if I build a 4-lane Polycar track, which I would like to do, I really like to be able to map that out in a program first so I can take advantage of optimize my space. And I haven't been able to do that. I will when enough of you buy the stuff you make an 8-lane. Okay. Did you say Smart Race? Yeah, Rag Talk Pat. There's a lot of us here in this live stream and the live chat that use Smart Race. Yeah, De Leon, I do too. I really like Martini. Golf is probably my favorite, not gonna lie. But there's some great looking Martini cars. There's some great looking John Player cars. And typically I don't get into like black and gold, but man, you just like John Player specials that's a great livery, right? Trying to think what else. Yeah, there's just so many great liveries. Like the fly car that I have, that's a Fruit of the Loom. Man, I love this livery. This is great. So, there's some great liveries out there, but yeah, like all the big names, the Marlboro, Lucky Strike, some of the old cigarette. I don't smoke, but some of those liveries are awesome. They definitely had great marketing departments and understood their job. The fingers, make it short and sweet and go get some rest. Yeah, I'm sure you do understand tired. Did you say slot shops? Slot shops. Hey, Maddie. Awesome. Welcome from Australia. Hey, Jeff G. I don't think I shouted out yet earlier. If he'd hit the pot shops, he wouldn't have to have got anything done. Well, there's plenty of them out there in Colorado for sure. There's dispensaries. One of my favorite comedians does this thing on his Instagram account where he gives you a sign from one of the dispensaries or a church, and you have to guess whether it's a church or a dispensary, because churches have gotten really creative with their names. And it's such a funny joke that like some of those dispensaries, the names are so creative. Like they don't want you to know that they're dispensary, but then they put like a marijuana leaf in their logo. But the name has nothing to do with being it's like Pure Image Dispensary. It just very vague. Just rent a car in Vegas is so much cheaper, and valet is free at hotels. I checked into that, Raul. I wasn't there long enough to really need a car. My schedule was so busy in Vegas. I really never had to leave the Venetian. I walked up the strip. There was a girl I work with that had never been to Vegas. She actually hadn't traveled a whole lot in her whole life. This was the first time she was ever on an airplane. And so she wanted to go see a few things along the strip. So we walked, from the Venetian clear up to, close to Mandalay Bay and back. Ended up being like 6 or 7 miles. One of the evenings, late. It was the night that the Stanley Cup final game was on. And so then that party kind of poured out onto the strip and got a little crazy, but it was fun. But yeah, no dispensary, no pot shops for me, guys. De Leon, I know, like, this isn't mine. This is my buddy John Marks. He leaves his analog stuff on a shelf here. It's a great car. They are a lot of fun. And once you fix the guide, there's some things you can do to tighten that guide up so it's not so stinking sloppy. They really, we put a set of silicones on them. They really perform well. They're just a lot of fun, especially when you're racing them in class. Understand that your lap times are going to be about 1.5 seconds slower than some of my fast cars, but yeah, so much fun. You kind of throw them around the corners. It's good. Chris, you're already trying to figure out what cars to bring with you. Yeah, man, if you make it down, we can talk about it. Yeah, Dusty's old Superbird made it. He made it under the bridge one time. And it ripped the wing off. I joined a local Boston club, and everyone has been awesome. I've raced at 2 different venues so far. It's been a blast. Gene, congratulations, man. Like, if you can find, I know that they're out there. There's some great home racing groups that kind of move around from track to track that are a lot of fun. and just great people. And that's what, I'm getting sleepy. You're getting sleepy, right? So congratulations, Gene. I'm glad you found somebody to race with, because that really. So what I found is, I'm never going to be like crazy serious racer. I'm not going to be traveling around the world like going to tracks and building $1,000 slot cars to run or more, the big wing cars. That doesn't really interest me, I guess, until I try one. Maybe I get sucked into that, but like I'm really about keeping the slot car hobby under control from a money standpoint. And I love the details. I want my slot car to look like a car. And a lot of those 124 scale stuff that are not scratch built stuff, the flexi chassis and things, some of those bodies, they don't look like the slot car or the car that they're supposed to look like. I like the detail, like the 132nd and the 124 scale cars that have great detail, like the Carrera cars, and or like the Group C car that I have, that Daryl sent me, the Budweiser car, the Group C BRM. Thanks. Whew. There you go. That was the first thing I did with the Chaparral. Drove it slowly under the bridge to make sure it didn't turn into one of those YouTube videos with an English lorry slamming into a bridge. It wasn't eight connected lanes. So yeah, Billy, get those lanes connected. Let's see what's going to happen. That'd be very interesting. If you are treating those tires, maybe it's a reaction from the treatment product you're using. Oh, you're referring to the tires that turned into goo. Yeah, Jeff, that's what I was thinking. If you're treating them, I could see where that treatment could potentially break it down. They've all been wood track so far, Gene. That's cool. Definitely got to tune your car a little different for wood track. I found like some of my cars that I tuned performed pretty good on the wood track, but definitely, check the guide height. That would be yes, Greg, Softy Bond. Thank you very much. Yeah. Head's a little cloudy. Memory. It was a customer's. Technically, it was 4-lane digital with two lane analog style tracks in the middle. The two and both were unique. Yeah, that's cool. It looked like a fun layout. It looked like a good time. No silicone for you. Friend's track is on ground with a dog. Never clean enough for silicones. No, you're right. Yeah, you have to have a clean track for silicones, for sure. Let's see. We got 4 new toys this past week. Skeletric Ford Falcon. Nice. The Ford Capri and the Skeletric Jägermeister VW bus. Nice. And the 512B. The Ferrari 512B is a popular car. Sideways makes a great version of that looks good in a handful of liveries. But that Pioneer livery on the Carrera car looks fantastic. We have some super tires, but the sizes we have been needing recently have been out of stock. Chris, check with Bruce at Cincy Slots. He keeps a large inventory of super tires if you're actually looking for super tires. Let's see. Ultimate Racer 4 has Skeletric Planner. No. I've never downloaded that software, but I know that it does have a planning. I'm guessing that maybe it does have a Scalextrics. That's cool. Good to know. I don't plan on getting a Scaly track because I have a Carrera, but if I build a 4-lane, it'll either be adding 2 more lanes to this layout somehow, or it'll be a Polycar build. It'll probably be a separate track, though. Hey, Gale Force. Hello, Minicar Nuts. That's right. That reminds me of the dad joke. Why does a squirrel swim on its back? That's funny. Can you set the number of laps for practice in Smart Race? Not for practice. Practice is kind of open laps, just running laps. If you want to set laps for practice in Smart Race, you could do qualifying and you can set either a time or laps, and use that. What I do, what I like, because it keeps the stats for you, is if you're going to do a timed, so my showdown video, what I'm doing is I'm running a 20 lap race so that I get like what the fastest laps are. I can look at 20 laps real easy and see when I came out of the slot based on the times. So I can count how many times I came out of the slot, and then an overall time. So that kind of gives me an idea. Is the difference between the 25K motor and the 21.5 motor that came in the Thunder slots, how much of a difference it is overall? Because lap times can be deceiving, but if the 25K car comes out of the slot 6 times in a 20 lap race and the 21.5 car comes out of the slot 0, I mean, you're looking at, there were times when the McLaren with the 21.5 actually had faster 20 lap times. Like overall, it finished 20 laps faster than the Elva with the 25K motor, because I was able to keep it in the slot. But then when I put the 25K motor in the McLaren, it was a mess. You guys saw that in the live stream. So we started wrenching on it and got it good. I don't run silicone either, but if I visit a track that does, all in. Yeah, man. John, I agree. You keep giving me a hard time to try rubber, since we have the Truer now. Truing some rubbers up. But the only thing is I don't have any buildup on my track. And then when we test to go race at all of the home races, like Butch's track and Cincy Slots and Bernie's, they all run silicone. So that's the trouble. Eric, you have Autobahn Planner. I've heard great things about it. I just never dropped the money for it yet, but I might, because it has some features that the free online one doesn't. So let's see here. Rolo, don't run something. So I already talked about that. Patrick Harper. Yeah, welcome, Patrick. You use X-Track CAD program for trains and AFX track. Unfortunately, it doesn't have 1/32 car track. Yeah. My wife's daughter works at a company in Michigan. She is in charge of making the pot dots. I think that's going to be a big growth. So I work in banking. I'm a marketing person for a small community bank, and there, from a regulatory standpoint, those businesses in that industry are hard to bank because regulators just not sure what's going to happen, but it's going to be too much money that eventually banks are going to say, you know what, regulators, we got to figure this out. We need to be able to bank these businesses because the cash is just too big. So, any freebies? That's good. Let's see here. Old school F1. Hi, Marty. I've converted my F1 NSR into Career Digital. They're running great. Have you heard of anyone who is running NSR F1 on Career Digital tracks? Old school F1. I know that there are some people that have put the slot Technic chips in the NSR F1s to make them Career Digital ready. I don't know anybody racing them like in a class as digital, but I'm sure there's some people out there that are running them. Those NSR F1s are great cars. I've watched a lot of videos about them. Everyone. I've not seen one video where people are like, this car sucks. Everybody loves those cars. So, not surprised. Slotting plus offset axle bushings for the Legends cars. The 0.6 millimeter offset axle bushing. Is that to get the car lower, John? Because they do sit up off the track a little bit. So that's interesting. Okay. I've not played with offset axle bushings at this point. But that's a good idea. Marty, we should try to hook up next time at CSU. Yeah, there's one in Rink Rat. There's one in Denver. Yeah, It was such a short trip, man. I got off of work on Friday, so I got back Thursday evening from Vegas. I went to work Friday, worked all day Friday, came home and was going to leave, and my wife was like, "You have not had enough sleep. I do not want to worry about you." So she made me go to sleep. And so what I did is instead of going to sleep, I edited a YouTube video so that I have a YouTube video that launched on Saturday morning. And when YouTube announced to my phone that that my video was live, that was my alarm clock, and I got up and walked out to the car and started my drive. So that means I got there Sunday, just before noon. It was 20 hours. I stopped at 11 p.m. Saturday night, slept, got up the next morning and finished I stayed in Colby, Kansas, and then that's about just shy of 4 hours from there. So by the time the girls got up, we met for breakfast at my favorite breakfast place in the world, Silver Grill. If you're ever in Fort Collins, you have to eat there. They have amazing cinnamon rolls. They're delicious. But yeah, Rink Rat would love to. The next time I visit, I will let you know, and I will definitely have more time. So basically, I had Sunday afternoon, and then Monday all day, and then I left at 5 o'clock this morning to go to the airport. And if you're anywhere, you know that 25 is full of construction, and you just never know what you're going to bump into. So we left extra early just to make sure. Yeah. So rules don't allow for modifications. So that's what I was going to get to for the Legends cars, John. The class that we run in this past year, you had to run the stock guide, and you had to run stock bushings and the stock motor. It's pretty much stock except for tires. You could true and glue and run silicones, and you could put floor wax or whatever, however you want to treat your fronts. So, and weight, but that was about it. But you had to run the bumpers, you had to run everything stock. So, but rumor has it that they might change that for next year to let us tune a little more, because I think Bruce felt like maybe if we allowed a little more tuning, that maybe more guys would run the Legends cars, because not everybody had Legends cars, so they actually split it. And so there were guys that ran Group C cars some weeks versus the Legends cars. And we ran them all together, but they basically had two classes that ran at once. To fingers, can't touch that stuff. I still hold a UCI or ACE license and get tested. There you go. Yep. What track were you trying to visit in Fort Collins? I can try and stop there. Rink Rat, I'm going to have to go back into my emails because off the top of my head, I can't remember who reached out to me. It wasn't you, was it? I apologize if it was. But I was talking to somebody who actually lived like near Old Town in Fort Collins. But it was months and months and months ago. I had a conversation. So I don't know that he had a track. I think he was into slot cars and was telling me that there were some home tracks in the Fort Collins area, but like near Loveland. I think I have talked to you about that. I think, aren't you near Loveland? Let's see. I'm glad you like my fake girls. Trust me, it's not. You have to go through a lot of AI women. That's great, Billy. I think it's funny, because so many of the thumbnails on YouTube, have just women in weird arrays of dress, and it's a mic review or a camera review, or they're van lifing, living off the grid. It always seems like any of those that are making videos that are living off the grid, that they always post a picture that is, anyway, it's all clickbait. De Leon, I saw it on Bruce's live stream from last night. They look really good. I wasn't sure if I was going to like those or not because I'm a Cobra fan. Um, and I feel like some of the Cobras that have been released. What do we have here? We have a Ninko Cobra. That's John Marks that we haven't attempted to tune. Maybe we'll get that out, but it looks pretty good, but doesn't perform very well. So hopefully those Scalies perform great because they seem to look great. I like them. So, let's see. Yeah, we do have some great mountain biking trails here, Dust. Yeah, Chris, if you ever want to come down and we could go mountain biking and then run slot cars. Greg, I had 3 Carrera 124 digital cars just stop working this week. No big impacts or collisions. I even replaced a chip in one in case I fried something. Didn't help. Any suggestions? Just quit, huh? And the motor lead didn't break or anything like that. It's not in the braids, is it? Because the way the braids work. I mean, I don't know. These Carrera 124 cars are so hardy. I don't even know where to begin to tell you to look. The little switch didn't get flipped on the bottom, did it? On the chip? Because I did that on accident once, and the car quit working. Sorry, Greg, that wasn't much help. So, John, the new Cobra windshield is way out of proportion. I kind of noticed that in Bruce's video, but I was gonna save judgment until I could see them in person. But I do love the paint schemes. That's a great color blue. They look like 289 Cobras a little bit. I would agree, Dusty. Hey, Jim, welcome, man. Hope you're doing well. I'm going to try to lower one of my Scale Electric V buses this week. They look so good lowered. Jeremy, that's a great idea. That's kind of what my plan. This was a gift from my daughter Maddie and her husband. This was their first married Christmas together, and so when they came to visit, she was so excited. My daughter was so excited to give this to me, but I would love to lower it, and it might be just as simple as lowering the body posts. But I need to tear it. I haven't had it apart in a while, so I can't remember what it looks like on the inside. But what's crazy is it's kind of quick. It just doesn't like turns. I will say the slot invasion guide upgrade on the VW bus, fantastic. Let's see, Dusty. They made AC 427s without the fender flares too. Yeah, I think you're just so used to seeing the 427s with fender flares. In the Legends, did you have to take them out? Take what out, Pat? Yeah, Jeff. No, they do not equal weight loss. They do not. Yeah, in our family, Dusty and I, our grandma made fantastic cinnamon rolls, so we get a free pass with cinnamon rolls in this family. I have a Levin's car, but it's outlawed at all tracks here. Yeah, Daryl, that is a great running. It's got a 3D printed chassis, so it's got a motor pod. That's a fast Legend car. I would agree. If you only eat half the cinnamon roll, then it's diet. Let's see. Yeah, Dusty, he thinks that they have a smaller look to them. It would be great to compare them to a really good Cobra model. And yeah, the fingers. You and me both. You and me both. Yeah, agree. Everything is an exception, Dusty. Uh, build one from a 125 kit. Yeah, I think that's how you can get one if you really want to go after something pretty precise. But it looks like Scalextrics did a pretty good job with those. And I think that like hardcore people might be picky, but it's okay. This is true. Yeah, that's why I'm like, I'm going to save judgment until I get one in my hands. Oh, yeah, Dusty, thanks, man. Thanks for the reminder. I will be giving away coffee beans after tonight's. So make sure in this chat you put coffee so I can find people who like coffee that would want a free bag of coffee. We'll go from there. But yeah, so exciting news from Rost, roastcoffee.com. Exciting news from them is when I stopped in on Friday to grab coffee before I went to work to make sure that I at least got a cup in the last 2 weeks. They were installing the new chimney for the new roaster. So that was pretty exciting for Roast to be able to start roasting in-house again. So I haven't been over there this week. I'll probably stop in the morning on the way to work, and I'm hoping that the new roaster is there. And then it sounds like the insurance company let him buy the old roaster after the fire because they didn't know what to do with it. And so he's looking at repairing that. So he'll have a second roaster as a backup, which will be fantastic. So let's see. I usually don't buy Scalextric cars, but the Cobra set looks good. Oops, let me clear out Roast Coffee. So roastcoffee.com, use the code 2lines, get 25% off your first purchase, 20% off a coffee subscription for life. Yep, awesome. So I usually don't buy Scalextrics. Chris, where you at? But the Cobra set looks really nice. I tried a couple of my wife's new Scalextric Aston Martins and BMWs, and they run nice. Yeah, Dusty's PAF Porsche, it's a Scaly, and it runs really well. He's done a bunch of work to it now, but even before that, it was a really smooth car. Yes, keep Legends stock. Yeah, we keep we've kept them pretty much stock. They let us repair the guide, do some tricks to try to make them better, but that guide is really sloppy. I'm surprised that Pioneer hasn't tried to improve that. But anyway, and like it's like a $80 slot car, which does kind of surprise me. Chris, you get a thumbs up from me. I'm a VW guy. I think that's great. De Leon, he wasn't, but the E30 and the VW Passat runs so smooth. That's what the VW Passat is what I drove all the way out to Colorado. One would be one thing, but it was 3 different cars. Yeah, Greg, that's a weird. That's something weird going on with those 124 scale cars. You're running them digital, so you're running power through the chip. Is there any way you can test the chip in something else like a 132nd car or in another car to see if that's the case? You probably have already done that. Let's see what else for giveaways. Do the rubber duck race, very fun and interactive. That's a good idea. I'm approaching, not quickly, but I'm approaching my giveaway number. I don't want to mention it because the last time I talked about it, pretty much subscriber count shut down for 2 months. To grow 100 subscribers, it's taken me like 2.5 months. And I was growing at a pretty good pace before that, but it's okay. But there is a number out there that I'm getting closer to. Oh, shout out to George. Congratulations. George hit 1,000 last week during him covering for me in the live stream. So that's good stuff. Donuts. For those of you who make it to Chillicothe, we got two really good donut places here. Famous donut places. John, you think you've already used your free coffee card? You never know. You never know. I mean, unfortunately, for the guys who live out of the States, it's tough to send you coffee. But so that's one problem. Yeah, congratulations. That's awesome, George. I'm not sure people understand how hard that is. It's a challenge to grow a YouTube channel. Because what we're doing is not something that goes viral, right? So, Tom Work, do you guys think a 5x10 ping pong table would be okay to start off with a Carrera set? Tom, yes. You could put a small layout on a 5x10 ping pong table. You are probably locked into R1 turns on that table just to keep things on the table, because that width at 5 feet, there's not a lot you can do. So you could probably do an R2 turn that would fill that up. Hang on a second. I've got an R3 and R4 turn right here. And it's probably about 5.5 feet wide. And it's a combination R3, R4. So you could do like one big turn on one end and then do some kind of snaking through the middle. So Tom, what I would recommend is to let me look it up, and I'll put I know I've put it out there before. But Smart Race. Smart Race has a great like resource page. Track building suggestions is what it's labeled at the bottom. And copy. I'm going to put this in the comments. So there's, hey, grandson of man, welcome. If you fit a bordered 230 okay, Billy, thanks. I knew you would have some, it fit a bordered 230 on a 5-foot table. Okay. So you R1s and R2s, you're kind of locked in. Anything bigger than that, you're going to fall off the edges. Okay. Maybe in between other things, we can figure out what's going on with Greg's 124 scale cars. Yeah, John, I agree. That's awesome. No one deserves it more than George. I will say that. George and Raul both working hard to get to that number. Let's see. Glad you. Hey, thanks for tuning in. I appreciate it. Jim Carson, Scale Auto. Okay. Guy said to go with Scale Electrics because it's smaller track. So yes, you can go with Scale Electrics. It's got tighter turn radiuses. Polycar has a little tighter turn radiuses too than Carrera. From a cost standpoint, they all cost about the same. The key is do you want to run digital? If you want to run digital, I feel like Carrera is probably the better digital system. It's what I have, so that's why I say that. But I did do a lot of research, and I just felt like there were more things to do digitally with the Carrera track than any of the others out there. R2 and R1 with borders will fit on a 5-foot table. This is great feedback, guys. So let's see. So a 5-foot by 10-foot. Oh man, why did I do that? So a 5-foot by 10-foot. 5-foot by 10-foot meters. So 5 foot is about 1.5 meters. So if I go out here and say the width is 1.5, ooh, the bottom end is 200. There's only one track they have. So this might be the only track that they recommend that would fit your table. I would not go with Scalextrics because you're missing out on 124. If you're spending about the same amount of money, I don't see why you would want to give up on being able to run other scales. Billy, that's a great observation, great point. Ragtop Pat I have a 230 bordered banked on my 4x8 track planner, Softy Bond, said 5 foot. I could add a 330 outside of the 230 on the 5 foot. Yeah, you'd be tight. You probably would edge off a little bit, but yeah, I think you just need to start laying out track and see what you like. Yeah, Billy has a good point about the 124. So here's my thing about 124 scale. When I built mine, that was the last thing on my mind. I wasn't really that interested in 124. To me, they seemed slow. And then we raced them. And the first time I raced them, I didn't really enjoy it. And then the second time I raced them, I was like, this is a heck of a lot of fun. So being able to run 124 scale and having the lane width to do it is pretty handy. Running them digital, no magnets, is a lot of fun. It does become a little bit of crash up derby, but those cars can handle it. I mean, they're built like tanks. They weigh a ton. It's a good time. So if that's something you think you would want to do in the future, then definitely go with that. If 132nd is all you plan on doing and all you want to do, you have options. You could find some old Ninko track. You could go with Scalextrics. Excuse me. I would probably look at Polycar before I would look at Scalextrics, but I will say that the Scaly track does look good. Their borders, they do a great job having different colored borders. It really stands out. And if you're into scenery and don't want to paint your track, that's a good way to go. Now, if it's all about racing, that people talk about how grippy Polycar track is. So that's one thing to think about. In opposition, Carrera won't do analog digital base. It wouldn't work with curve lane changers or their multi-lane start. Yep. You have to be careful. Yeah, Jeremy, great point. Carrera cars, great value for the price point. They hold up to a lot of abuse, and you can get, analog, gosh, like less than $40 sometimes buying an analog. But a digital car, you're looking at like 50. So yeah, great value, great looking cars. Their detail is fantastic. Yeah, great points. Let's see. My Scale Auto car is definitely 132nd scale. I just purchased it from a garage sale at Electric Dreams. Jim, you got to go to that. I saw them. They did a great job on Instagram advertising that. They did a bunch of giveaways. I mean, they give away a lot of car. Like, I forget what the total like $2,200 worth of slot cars, which was really cool. But you had to be in California. I guess it was close. I drove to Denver. I might as well drive the rest of the way to LA, right? Tom, thanks, man. You're great as well. That's why we do this live stream on Tuesdays. Is it gives people an opportunity to ask questions and have a lot of feedback from a lot of people who have a lot of experience in the hobby. I mean, I'll always give my opinion. My brother can tell you I'm never short on that. But it comes from a lot of research. He knows that I research the crap out of anything before I buy something. So a lot of times I feel like I have some good thoughts, and I know a lot of people in this live chat that do as well, that I really take their word if they've tested a product or, I mean, I watched John Albright's videos. The guy can get a car around Scalextrics. I know a lot of people say that it's a pretty slick track, but his cars get around that track in a hurry. So you can tune a car for your track. George always talks about it. Tune a car for your specific track, and make it get around fast. So whether it's Carrera, Scalextrics, get what works best for you. With the smaller table, you might be better off because you might be able to squeeze a little more track in. But if you ever decide you want to go 124 scale, which it's one of those things like maybe you don't think so until you try it, and then you realize it'd be great to be able to run on your track. Those are all things to think about. And great advice from John and Jeremy and Dusty and Billy and Patrick. You can fit way more track with Scalextrics on that size. I would agree, Patrick. Yeah, those tighter turns really help. Dave Kennedy has a great video from a couple of years ago where he basically creates an R1 turn out of like Polycar, Scalextrics, and Carrera. And you can see them, an R1 turn, 180 degrees, and you can see how big each one is compared to the other. Go look for that video. That will help you. You can fit more, but it doesn't help when you're limited to a 9-foot straight. Yeah, it does limit what you can do because you don't have a lot of area for return. Anytime you go out, you've got to come back via a turn somehow, right? So that table will get, not that you can't do it, but that table will get real small real quick. You will have a pretty basic layout, but there's nothing wrong with that. If you're able to run a slot car on it, you can have fun on it. You don't have to have a gigantic layout to have fun with a slot car. I learned that the first night when I set up the starter set, which launched me into this thing. But yeah, that's cool. Andrew Jackson, any advice for setting up D124 for magless? I watched Cincy Slots, great video, but no mention of adding weights. So Andrew, I've been asking this question and no one has a great answer. But I will tell you, you do not want to add weight to the digital 124 magless. No mag. You think you want to add weight until you add weight and it slows you down. So what you want to do is you want to lighten that car as much as you possibly can. So if you're pulling the magnets out of it, you get it as lean as possible because that's how you're going to pick up speed. Now they all perform about the same in the turns. We use silicone at our track, and they're trued, so they're true. We don't true them, but they come really, really true. They do really well, but those things are made to drift around a turn. So you want your car as light as possible because that's where you'll pick up your speed. You won't pick it up. I don't believe you pick up your speed from traction as much as getting rid of some weight. Greg, Magless Carrera 124 is trial and error, mostly error. That is exactly. It's fun though. Like, I'm not gonna lie, it is a fun car to try to get around the track, and a little bit goes a long way because I tuned mine the best I could. I lubed it up. I put silicone tires on it. I took the magnets out. You're not going to get body float in a 120 that Carrera 124 scale. Just the way that body and the chassis come together, you'd really have to do a lot of work to try to get body float. And I'm not sure you can't loosen the screws because the screws will just come out because the body screws connect via like a brass grommet or insert. So yeah, so you can't really introduce float. You just have to kind of hang on. Hey, Steven. Steven knows all about tuning a 124 scale digital car. And he knows how to knock you out of the lane. Oh, wait, that's me. I knock you off the track. Not you knocking me off the track. AJ, we really don't add much, if any, weight to the 124. They're so heavy already. They're fairly stable. Yeah, I would agree. I add weight in different amounts and locations in every car. None of the same. Yeah, Greg. Well, I found that getting that car as light as possible, the 124, is where you pick up speed. So what did I miss? John A. The great thing is that our little plastic cars can be tuned to run well on almost any track. You're right. Some tracks you have to take a different, like, kind of go at it at a different angle, but I don't know that it's all very far off. What size layouts do you all have? Tom, my layout is 8 foot wide by 24 feet long. It started out 8 foot wide by 20 feet long, but we added 4 feet because we wanted a little longer straights. And then we changed the layout altogether and landed on this layout. If anybody wants a copy of my layout, I'll figure out a place to post it out there. It's been posted on a bunch of different things, but a lot of people have asked for it. It's really, my layout, it's funny, is really getting a lot of attention on Instagram. I have all kinds of guys on Instagram that don't follow my YouTube channel, but there's a whole nother. I'm thinking about starting to stream this on Instagram as well as YouTube and maybe even Facebook, because there's a lot of guys on Instagram that reach out to me through Instagram that are not part of my YouTube channel. I'm like, hey, have you watched my video on YouTube? And they're like, nope, I don't follow you. I don't really watch YouTube. I'm like, okay, there's a whole another world of slot cars on YouTube over there. But from Instagram, a lot of people have reached out asking for a copy of my layout. So, yep, 8 by 24. I know there's a lot of guys, a lot of times it has to do with you build a table based on a 4 by 8 sheet of plywood. So, a lot of times you're building in a 8 foot wide, 12 foot wide, 10 foot wide based on your space, but whatever is the kind of easiest with 4 by 8 sheets of plywood. DK Moon, I have a 75-foot scaly track, but not a single R1 on it. R2 is my sharp curve. Nice. That's fantastic. Let's see. Steven, I put weight in the holes. I pull the magnets out of 124 cars. So Daryl does put weight. I imagine you could probably move some weight around to try to get it to handle a little better. But I've just really noticed that when I added weight to it, it just became harder to get through the turns because you're trying to land on the brakes pretty hard going into a turn. Always tune to the least amount of added weight you can get away with. Yep. Steve, Carrera 124 rules. I know what that laugh's about, Steve. Greg, I used to have a 90-foot plus, but was informed flow is more important than length. It is correct, but I've heard that argument in other subjects also. Yeah, Greg, I did the same thing. I think I was up to 114, 115 foot of lane length, and I had the track was fun, but it had decent flow, but it was kind of a nightmare to marshal. We had some overpasses and some bridges because I had multiple places where the track crisscrossed each other, and that really became a problem for marshaling. And what's funny now is where I've got the straightaways, we have to marshal a little bit on the opposite side, but when we run analog, both people are on the same side, and like two people could marshal the whole track and be pretty good. Three people is even better to marshal, but most of the time when we race on Sunday nights, just to goof off, there's really no marshaling. You kind of self-marshal, and because of it's pretty easy to do that because of where the turns are and where you typically come out. So I think, good flow is important. Greg is right. It probably is a better flowing track that he's brought that lane length down, and it's probably a little easier to marshal. But, you like what you like. If you want to build a track that they call like a spaghetti track where there's just lots of track everywhere on top of each other, there's nothing wrong with that. Like, I don't know that anybody in this live chat will judge you. Guys are really complimentary on most people's layouts. Sometimes, you don't know how much you love it until you jump on it and run some cars. So I would say build. Tom, wait. Somebody probably has already answered this because I'm a little behind on the chat, I think. But Slot Car Corner and Professor Motor and all of them, you can buy these sheets of lead weight. I've got a piece of one. It looks like this, and it's got on the back some self-stick so that you can easily cut it and bend it and shape it. But John Albright's right. Like, you don't want to add a ton of weight. You want to add weight where you need it to improve the car's handling, but only add as much as you need to get the job done. Because ultimately, a car that weighs 68 grams versus 78 grams, the potential for making that car go faster with the same motor, that lighter car will go faster. So you want to be careful by not making the car too heavy. So, like a rule of thumb, I don't know that there's really a rule of thumb. I think John's right. But I will tell you that, like, I usually land between 2.5 to 5 grams. I've got a few cars that I've added a little more than that, but that I probably need to go back and retune because I probably could lighten them up a little bit and leave weight where the weight was important and really help the handling. So as you learn to tune better, you get a good feel. You just grab a car, open it up, and get a good feel for where you probably need to put the weight. Do a few laps to see what it does. The nose is hopping down the straightaway. You probably need a little bit of weight kind of up towards that guide, just to keep that nose down in the guide down in the slot. If it's tail happy, you maybe move some weight forward a little bit on the motor pod. All things like that really you start learning as you tune more cars. And I am not an expert at tuning, but with your help last week, we made this car go pretty fast. So there's a lot of smart people in this live chat when it comes to tuning. Cyberg, I converted my Carrera digital to analog with about $20 in parts plus power supply and controller. Sweet. That's great, Cyberg. Alex, I don't know what Alex's last name is, but Alex is posting that he's making a tech slot box type of box that he's 3D printed. They've 3D printed the boxes that look great that he's posting on the forums for sale when he gets them done. So shout out to him. Great job for jumping out there and giving people options. And then Joseph has been jumping back in with tech slot boxes as he works through some of that inventory that he still had. Garage of Slot Car. Marty, your layout is one of my all-time favorites. Yours and MP. Thanks, man. That really means a lot. If you ever want I'd be humbled that somebody'd want to build my layout. But after you run some cars on it, it's a fun layout. It's fast. It flows well. It's got some challenge. The S turns through the middle are fun, but challenging. Like it's got some technical. I just feel like it's got everything that we really wanted in a track. Really easy to marshal. You can kind of predict where the cars they come off in about 3 different places most of the time. George, that's probably more accurate. I don't know. I missed what George said. I'm scrolling back. 50,000 pounds like Kenworth's. You. I think so. Dusty and I could probably admit early on we would add weight and add weight and add weight when we jumped into analog and no magnets. And then I think we've learned to back off of some of that weight because maybe it handles better in the turns, but you lose so much in speed in the straightaways because, you're trying to push a bunch of weight and then it messes with your braking going into the turns. So I think we've learned a lot just in the last 3 or 4 months about weight and trying to find that sweet spot. And it's going to be different for every car. Yeah, Greg, thanks. And I'm glad you like your new layout because I like your new layout. I think your new layout looks fantastic. It looks like a lot of fun. And probably a little easier to marshal than your old layout. Not that there was anything wrong with your old layout. It just, this one feels like it flows a little better. It looks fun. Skeletric in the Lego City, Carreras surrounds it. Yeah, Raul, you got the jumbo track going. That's going to be fun to watch. Can't wait to see more video on that. Slot Car Corner also has tungsten lead putty, like silly putty, but heavy. So yeah, Steve, what I've found about the tungsten putty is I like to use it to test weight, like how much weight needs to go in the car. And when I figure out where it needs to go with the putty, I usually pull the putty out because the putty is affected by gravity and it will ooze. And I noticed that I have it in my NSR 908, and you can see that it starts to, I have to push it back in every once in a while. So I just have to kind of push it back in so that it doesn't come out, and it kind of moves and oozes. So what I've been doing is I really need to measure that and figure out how much putty that is and put a piece of lead in there because I know where the weight needs to go now. And that's what I use. The tungsten putty is fantastic stuff to do your testing. But then I think what you do is you pull it out, put it back in a little box or little something to airtight to keep it nice and soft and from drying out too much. And then you go back in with lead and you'll find that it's pretty consistent. But yep, Steve, you're right. The putty is fantastic. Jim Carson, you collect Legos. That's cool. Yeah, Jeremy, you have a nice layout too, man. It's cool. You got a cool space. Your whole feng shui is good. I like it. But Ragtop Pat, yep. Thanks, man. Yes, Dusty gets it from Amazon. It's a little cheaper and bigger quantities. The tungsten, yeah. But the putty is makes it really easy. I will say the other place that's great for the tungsten putty that I leave it in is I've been putting some up around the guide. Some of the times the guide, the way they form the plastic chassis is there's a nice little pocket, and you can shove that tungsten putty right down in that pocket and fill it up and get the right amount of weight you need right up there by the guide without interfering with anything. If you're looking for adhesive backed lead, Professor Motor has the best I've found. I would agree that Professor Motor stuff is super sticky. And John, you gave me that recommendation a couple months ago, and it is super sticky. Never add weight unless you have to. Yeah. If you, let's see what else. Gary, my Scale Electric card run automatically without programming. I chipped them, and they just take off without using the control. Okay, is that the Carson chip, Gary? There are some anomalies with that Carson chip. I don't know if we've talked about that on the live stream or not. There's a handful of YouTube videos out there, Gary. I think I actually did one with my VW bus because that's what was happening with the bus. And what I found is there's a lot of ferrite right by the guide, or it's actually near the chip that I removed from the bus, I think, and just put the wire leads straight to the motor and got rid of that, and it solved that problem. So yes, it is a problem with the Carson chip. There's some weirdness that happens. Some people cut that ferrite out, and it still does the same thing. So I can't promise you that that's the exact fix, but that's one of them that I found that actually worked for me. So hopefully that helps you. The Fingers uses Legos for things like a barrier lighting for my Scale Electric layout. Nice. I know a lot of people use Legos. Legos are fun. I don't add a lot of weight, but when I do, it's in the right places. Yeah. Daryl, you're right. That would be the easy fix. Just put tape over the holes. Yeah, Jeremy, like a lot of people have said that it's not an original idea from me. I think I naturally started doing that just because the putty is so convenient to use, but it's kind of an expensive weight. So I started doing that not too long ago. I had putty in a lot of cars, and I've kind of collected that putty and moved it around just because it's a lot cheaper to use lead than the putty. The putty gets expensive. Let's wait. Yep, weight used to balance the chassis. I agree. Thanks, George. The ultra thin. I have a couple thicknesses. I've got some heavy stuff too, so you can go with a little smaller. But sometimes you want that weight distributed a little further out on the chassis, or on the motor pod. So the thin stuff is a little lighter. Yeah, just use it in areas that can trap it. But I found that I like to use it to test. So I usually end up pulling it out of most places on the cars and replacing it with lead. My theory with putty. Yeah. Good job, grandson of man. That's funny, Steve. Around guides, you have to make sure it doesn't foul the guide shaft. Yeah. I only do that when there's like a pocket that's protected, so you can kind of keep it separate so it doesn't ooze and get in the way and mess up your guide movement. Ultra thin is good for attaching it under the chassis. Right. I noticed, George, the one thing to be careful about that, like on your home track, not a big deal, but there's a lot of rules that if you go take it to a race, that they say that the weight has to be on the inside of the chassis. So that's the only thing you have to be careful of. But yeah, the ultra thin definitely does make it nice that you could actually put it exactly where you want it on the chassis underneath. So that's a great point with that ultra thin stuff. Yeah. Yeah, Daryl. Yep. And I think mainly that's because they don't want it falling off or shorting out the track. I'm not sure that would be an issue with lead, but yeah, I know you did. Flatten tire weights in a vise and cut them. Flatten to the thickness you need. Yeah, lead. You can shape the lead. You can also pick up lead at like Hobby Lobby for Pinewood Derby cars. You can also get tungsten putty there too. You can also find tungsten putty in some bait and tackle places because people use it for fishing and like weighting lures. So I found it a little cheaper and a little larger quantity that way. So Ancient Vacuum test. Ancient Vacuum, welcome. I believe it's the first time you've been in the live chat. So thanks. You had a Cox slot car as a kid. I don't have one. I've not discovered one, but I know that was a popular brand in the 60s. Seen guys burn up motors on Skeletric track that way. Question, is running a metal sprocket with a plastic pinion kosher? I don't know of any rules that prevent that. I feel like the plastic pinions that Thunderslot uses are really smooth. That I think that's why Thunderslot is so smooth. But you can, you don't get the gear mesh right. You can mess up a plastic pinion really fast, I think. But I don't know that there's a big problem with it. Steve, I don't know if that answers your question, but yeah, I'm not against it. I don't know that most rules would say plastic versus a brass. I'm not sure that there's a big difference. It just, from a noise, the plastic is quiet. Yep, there's George, right on cue. They're quiet. Rather run metal, Steve. So the fingers, you like the brass? Yeah, I don't think there's any problem with it. I think you do get a little quieter running car with the plastic, but it probably wears out a lot faster. Slot car Dojo. It's lead, so Superman can't see your setup. That's great. Beatnik, Tyco Cliffhangers was my first set. That's cool. The cliffhanger stuff, like going up the wall and down. Yeah, that was always kind of crazy. Yeah, you wouldn't be able to do that with no magnets. But I think there was a lot of kids that had that Tyco set, Beatnik. A lot of kids. Get lead at Town Fair Tire for free. Joe. Son had Tyco cliffhangers, glow in the dark. Vets. Yeah. I use both types of gears as long as they mesh correctly. Yeah, I agree. I tend to like the plastic from Thunderslot. One, they're easy to get on and off. Marty, do you know a slot car with metal chassis? So Ancient Vacuum. Revo slots are slot cars that run a metal aluminum chassis. There you can see it. And we love these cars. They're fantastic. Now they're a little heavy and they're a little slower than some of the other cars. So usually Revos will run in their own class against other Revo slots. But great cars. I mean, they are well made. They're very precise. They're a lot of fun to drive because because of their weight, you can kind of drive them into the turns a little harder. And I just feel like I can drive them pretty hard, and they hang in there. And then you've got all kinds of float that you can adjust in that chassis. I like them. So yes, there are metal chassis, and maybe one day another company will decide to do an aluminum chassis for 1/32 scale to compete with Revo slots. But right now they kind of own that. Yep, Revo. I had it nailed to my wall. Yeah, the cliffhangers. You're welcome, Steve. Yep, we love racing Revos. They're a lot of fun. They're super competitive in class against each other. Very, very close, and they are pretty easy to tune. You can do just a little bit, and it'll go a long way. In my opinion, I could probably spend more time trying to get more out of my Revo slot, but it runs really, really well, and they're a lot of fun to drive. So we recommend them. Ancient Vacuum. Jerry, drove your mom crazy. I can't imagine. Dusty and I never drove our mom crazy with slot car stuff. Come home and find it on the kitchen table, set up, or the old TCR track that we had. That was our first track. DeLeon, man, you'll love that car. A Ferrari is a quick car. It's fun. Slot Car Dojo. My brother Dusty had a US 1 trucking set. Do you remember that, Dusty? Revo it is. Yeah, give them a shot. They've got a lot of great choices. The detail is great on Revo slots. Let's see, where's my other Revo slot? I don't see it. It must be in my slot car box. As I got a 911, a Porsche 911, and then the Ferrari 333 SP. And I want more. Eventually. John Allwright, Revos suck. These things are a piece of crap. Not. They are great cars. Greg, Cox Strombecker in the 60s built my son a 16x4 HO with 027 Line L in the 70s. That's cool. USA 1, US 1 trucking set. Slot Car Dojo, I'm going back to that. It was like concrete colored track, and it was like some single lane, and then couldn't you reverse and back in and dump your dump bed on your truck? If I remember right. Oh, now I'm gonna have to YouTube that. Dusty remembers it. I remember you having that, Dusty. We played with that a lot too. Wonder what happened to that. It's not downstairs in the basement closet, is it? Dad said they got rid of my TCR track because it was just worn out and it was all rusted. Red tractor. Frankie, put on slot invasion guides and I was impressed. They make a difference. Frankie, they are really good. There are a couple others. Slotting Plus makes a nice guide as well. And Scale Auto makes a great, inexpensive guide that does a great job. Let me see, what do I have that has that on it? I don't see one right now. But yes, the slot invasion guides are fantastic. Oscar is in the live chat sometimes on these live streams. Great guy to work with. Holy cow, it's 9:43. I've been on for an hour and 45 minutes, and we have not accomplished one thing tonight. But yes, totally recommend Slot Invasion. Great guides. They perform really, really well. I have one on my NSR GT40. I have one on my my Thunder slot. I would like to put one on my my Legends car, but I have not done that yet because then it would be we would not be able to. Full disclosure, I know you do, John. It's a great brand of car. I used to get the different exit attachments like the fire department. Yeah. Those are really cool stuff. Love it. Greg, BRM and 124. Yes, metal chassis. My BRM is a plastic chassis, but this year I want to order one of those, either the 917 or the Ferrari that they released this year. Those are great looking cars. Number 21. You just keep buying them until you find one that finally gets around the track. Ranked up at Marty, don't say that. We haven't accomplished anything. I think Pat, you're right. I have learned a lot tonight. You guys teach me something every week. I appreciate it. That's why I tune in. pull in with your dump truck, pull out as the fire truck. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I remember the commercials. The commercials, they would show footage of the tractor trailer like bouncing down the road. That was great. Accomplishment equals bench racing. There you go. Marty, share the link on the broadcast. Show it on the browser. To what? That link. Let's see here. What's the Tyco? Tyco US1 Trucking. Let me see if I can do that. Tyco US1 Trucking. Tyco US1 Trucking.com. Oh, yeah. Okay. Let me see if I can share this. Good idea. I always forget that I can do this. Where'd it go? Hey, this is awesome. Okay, let me get this out of the way. Oh, yes. There you go, guys. We're reliving our childhood, some of us. This is the set that Dusty had. Check out the lights. Those are awesome. So I could do without the Sweetwater ad. Let's see if I can get rid of that. Find me, follow me. U.S. truck vehicles, US1 trucking sets, action accessories. There you go. There's your accessories. There's the highway wrecker set. This is the one you had, Dusty, I think. That one right there. The night hauler set. No, that wasn't it. Oh, that's a link. Let's see which one. So we can figure out which one you had. Look at all those. How great. This is the commercial.
How'd you like to get behind the wheel of a 10-ton truck? Now you can with US1 Electric Trucking. It's got two tough, hard-working trucks that you control. Load the truck, then move out down the highway. Slow down, shift into reverse, and dump them. Then hitch that big flatbed. Get that load, get her on the road, and let her go. Load it, hitch it, haul it, dump it. US1 Electric Trucking by Tyco, of course. Would your kid like to get behind the wheel of a 10-ton truck? This comes mighty close. US1 Electric Trucking. Two tough, hard-working trucks that he controls. Load the truck.
Gary, you remember that?
Move out down the highway. Slow down. Shift
you
into
had
reverse
one?
and
you had a US1? That's
then
awesome.
Fill up the gravel truck, load those logs, get that truck rolling, and let her go. Load it, haul it, dump it. US1 Electric Trucking for your kid from Tyco, of course.
If you want to be a right good trucker, son, here's what you got to do.
Is that a Kenworth, Dusty?
You're in control on US1 where the trucks go roaring through. Where you hit the road and you move her down. Where you dump that load of jockey rigs around and you back that truck when you hear that sound. There's a fire alert and it's coming down. Fire alert. You heard me. Fire alert. With 3 trucks. Fire alert. Those trucks mean business, boy.
That's how it's done. US1 Fire Alert Electric Trucking. With everything shown here, you put it together. New from Tyco.
Oh, that was a trip down memory lane. Toys were so much cooler back in the day. That's fantastic. George, you just made the whole broadcast. I just realized I was going to have you come on to the live stream, George. Dang it. We needed to talk before that. That just rang a bell. You don't want to work on them. Ask me why. Toys are so much cooler back in the day. They should reissue in 1/32 scale. The controller was a steering wheel. Yep. I remember the controllers were a steering wheel. I think I'd rather be hit by an HO truck. Yeah, I agree. Nobody wants to work on them. That was great. All right, guys, it's 9:50. We're almost 2 hours. Gone. It's been good to catch up. I'm going to wrap things up. I'll send somebody some coffee this week. This has been great. George, thanks for making my day with the US1. I had totally forgot. That was a memory that I just didn't remember until you mentioned US1, and I was like, I remember Dusty had that. Jamie, he just joined, and you had to double check to see if you're watching right there. We're wrapping up, Jamie. We got sidetracked YouTube rabbit hole about US1 trucking sets. That is so great. But yeah, I'm wrapping up. So guys, this has been fantastic. Don't forget, 2 lines get you 25% off your first purchase of coffee. Go out there and support Trent if you're a coffee drinker. I appreciate you. Thanks for tuning in. It's been a crazy week. I'm gonna go get some sleep. So, guys, thanks for tuning in. We'll catch you on the flip side, and go have some fun racing.